And the grandkids tease me about this. They say to me, Gramsci, every time we come over and visit you, you shake our hand. The reason why I do it, I did it in the business world a fair bit. And not everyone's comfortable hugging, but extend your hand. I mean, when you circle back to when we were born, our parents taught us the feeling of touch at a very young age. It's really important to use that at this later stage in our lives. It may sound simple, stupid, but it speaks volumes, and you will become known for that because the average person does not do it. So take the initiative, extend the hand. It will make somebody's day, trust me.
Welcome back to The Real Retirement Show. My name is Yasmin, here with my co-host Kathleen. Whether you're retired or thinking about retirement, we delve into the multifaceted world of retirement beyond the finances. This isn't your typical retirement discussion. It's a vibrant journey into what retirement truly means in today's world. We bring you real stories from real retirees and experts discussing real challenges, surprises, joys, heartaches, and the myriad of emotions that come with retirement. From addressing family dynamics to mental and physical health to finding purpose, we tackle the issues that truly matter to retirees and those thinking about retirement. In this heartwarming episode, we delve into the profound impact of simple human gestures and connections in our golden years. Allan Calvert, a charming retiree with a rich tapestry of life experiences ranging from hospitality to luxury car sales, shares his wisdom on the art of making every day count. From the significance of a handshake to the power of remembering names, Allan's stories underscores the beauty of human interaction and its ability to enrich our lives, especially as we age. Join us as we explore Allan's journey through the lens of retirement, where overcoming technical glitches becomes a metaphor for navigating life's challenges with patience, humor, and a helping hand. Whether you're retired, approaching retirement, or simply seeking inspiration to inject more meaning into your daily interactions, this episode promises insights that will touch your heart and perhaps even change the way you view the small yet impactful gestures we share with one another. Tune in to discover how embracing the lessons of hospitality and the ethos of continual improvement can transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, making every day a reason to celebrate the joy of being alive and connected. Let's join our conversation.
What a day. I think we need to share with our audience today that we actually overcame some technical issues. And every phone, computer, laptop, device is not created equal. But welcome, and here we are.
Thank you so much, Allan. Boy, that was fun. It's certainly a test in our patience, our humor, and all these things that happen in our life journey, but specifically in this case, our retirement journey. And you just have to roll with it, right? And so thanks for being patient and rolling with it. And here we are. Allan, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so delighted to have you as our guest on our Real Retirement Show. And Kathleen has spoken so highly of you, and I'm excited to get to know you more. And I'm curious, would you share a little bit about your particular journey to where you are today prior to retiring? What was your career and how did retirement come about?
I would be honored, Yasmin, and it's wonderful to meet you through this exercise. And speaking about those technical challenges that we experience speaks to almost anybody that's retired. When you come upon challenges, it probably would be easy to say, I give up, I quit. I'm not going to embrace this and try and solve it. But there's a lesson to be learned there. We will all definitely come up against these challenges, especially in retirement. And the key is embrace it and look for a solution and don't be afraid to ask. And we proved that today. And I feel great at this stage in my life of getting the assistance and solving this challenge. So thank you for getting us here back to your question, where have I been and how did I get here? I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and my journey took me from there to Hamilton, Ontario, where I did my schooling. And while in Hamilton, I was introduced and pursued a career in hotel management, and specifically in full service hotels, which was something for me. The way we were raised, a hotel was truly a place for people with a lot of money. So being exposed to that strata of society was quite an education in itself, and not the fact that it takes money to enjoy life. From a service perspective, from a hospitality perspective, you gain an appreciation for simply treating human beings the way we all want to be treated. Simple courtesies, use their name, proper greetings, like the absolute basics of human life. And that bodes well through all of our lives, including retirement. And I'll circle back to that in a minute. But having said that, in the hotel business, it took me to not only Hamilton, but it took me to London, Ontario, and ultimately Sarnia, Ontario. And I managed a beautiful property in Sarnia and made a transition some 30 years ago when I was approached by a fellow that owned a luxury car dealership. And he said, do you know something? You could do rather well in luxury automotive management and sales. And back in the day, my immediate comment was, I'm not interested. I don't like car salespeople. I go to your dealerships when you're closed because I don't want to confront you people. And he obviously noticed that I was blessed with learning a skill of hospitality. And he said, if you exercise that skill in this business, you will do very well. So I took a leap of faith. I can remember going home, telling my family that I've decided to leave the security of a salary and a full-time job and a career to go into the commission car sales business. Their immediate reaction was, of course, we're going to lose the house. And we had just built a new home at that time. But having said that, that career took me a good number of years with some of the great brands, international brands like BMW, Jaguar, and Lexus. And obviously, each of those brands is represented from a different part of the world, a different country. In those cases, German engineering, British engineering, and Japanese. And I must say that I learned the most in terms of human relations from Lexus, the Japanese company. Having said that, after a good number of years with Lexus, we all were confronted with a global pandemic. And that put the brakes on a lot of us temporarily. But having said that, we were all sent home. While at home, a very good friend of mine said, you know something, Allan, our local Chamber of Commerce is looking for a new CEO. Why don't you consider throwing your hat in the ring? And I was thrilled for the suggestion. I threw my hat in the ring, and I was fortunate enough, blessed enough to become the CEO of that Chamber of Commerce during the pandemic. I was in that position for approximately 2 years. And just after that, I decided, yeah, I've earned retirement. And I retired from that and enjoyed a brief period of retirement until I was approached yet again to assist with a seniors residence in a fire restoration construction project. And I was site supervisor for a good period of time, which finished up just this past November. And hence I am now pleasantly retired again.
Allan, would you take us back to the moment when you discovered that there was this fire? Because I'm curious to get the context and backstory as to what happened.
Yeah, to expand on that, January the 15th of this past year, 2023, excuse me. My wife, who was on the administration team of a seniors residence, one of the larger ones here in Sarnia, she received a phone call at approximately 11 o'clock at night from their front desk staff, and they let her know promptly that the fire alarms were going off, and could she come by at her earliest convenience to assess what was transpiring. Obviously, the person that was working the front desk had to entertain the fire alarms that were going off in the building and couldn't stay on the phone long at all. We jumped in the car and headed into the facility, which is approximately 15 minutes away. On our way, we assumed that it possibly was a little kitchen fire. And when we turned on the road that the facility is located on, a block away, we noticed flames coming out of the building that were 20 to 30 feet high. And at that moment, the first question that came to mind was, how many people, how many seniors have we lost already? Because the magnitude of what you were seeing with your eyes was truly incredible. We drove right up to the building. And at that point, there were 2 fire trucks on site. And we entered the building to assist with the evacuation. They have a front desk area. And we stood there at the front desk. There's a grand staircase that takes guests up and down to the second floor. And it was surreal in that your emotions take over, in that we as humans want to help other people. Obviously, this was an extreme situation, but you do step aside in your mind and you think, I'm standing in a building that's on fire, and you could almost feel the roar of the building below your feet. And then quickly you have to rush to the fact that the people that are looking at us coming down the staircase, they're begging us for help. They want help getting out. And a good number of them, because of the time of day, were awakened from bed. And they were coming down the staircase in bare feet. Many had forgotten their eyeglasses. Those that had false teeth, their teeth were on their nightstands. Many had hearing aids that were on their nightstands. So they were coming to us with nothing other than the pajamas that were on their back. And we escorted them out of that building to another nursing home across the street. And there are a lot of backstories relative to this. It was a surreal experience, and it speaks to the human connection, what humans do in extreme situations. And it's reflex. There's no playbook for this. It's absolute reflex. It's knowing that you can throw a lifesaver to somebody and pull them back in. And that's what we did. And again, it was a magical experience. And at the end of something like that, when you eventually get home and reflect on it, even if you're not practicing any particular religion, you find it in your heart to drum up a prayer or two, and you say them to yourself in appreciation for not only where you got to, but the skills that you were provided to assist people.
No lives were lost either. I want to just say that. It was a catastrophic loss of property, but certainly the gain was in respect for those people who helped the seniors relocate, evacuate, of course, but then ultimately relocate, because it is no easy feat, as everyone who's ever been through the rehoming, let's say, or downsizing from your home and you going into either assisted living or retirement accommodations, that in and of itself is an emotional journey. And you couple that now with an evacuation where you lose everything. All the mementos that you saved and the things that were dear to you are now gone. And so in my belief, the steadfast respect that you gained through that assistance speaks volumes, though, not just to the human condition as you outlined, but to the caliber of the people involved with the situation at that point in time. And I'm going to just take an opportunity right now to kind of segue. I think that in all transparency, I've known Allan for over 30 years, and he's always demonstrated an incredible interest in others. And I've always thought it's been wonderful. He's great at customer service, but it's relationships. And that's why we really wanted Allan to come today and to help you see through the mask of what your career might have taught you and how that is going to take you through your transition period. Because Allan, he speaks of retiring and then going back into something else and then retiring again. But actually, what he does, he just says yes when he sees a need. And I'm going to let him explain. And Allan, if you could just expand in your mind, what do you think were the skill sets that you learned through your career? And how would they, and have they, and are they helping you navigate through this consistent change within your environment and your lifestyle now?
Yeah, thank you. I guess I'll circle back to my experience in training and education in the hospitality industry. Obviously, hotels, restaurants have very high standards when it comes to the basics. When I say basics, cleanliness, regiment of staff. Again, these might sound minimal, but there was an old saying that has been consistent, not only in that industry back then, but it holds true now. And that it applies to all human beings. Where I'm going with this is the saying is people eat with their eyes. And it doesn't matter if it's the hotel business, the restaurant business, the car business, even in retirement. And I've discovered this as well, being retired now. There are days that you wake up and you think to yourself, I'm just going to take a holiday from hygiene, pull on my jeans and just hang around. The reality is you never know who you're going to bump into on any given day, even if you're standing in your front yard. And there's no question that you feel better with fresh clothes. Pull up your socks, you'll feel better. And that's important in retirement. And again, if you go to the grocery store and watch some retired people, in some cases, you can almost feel sad for them because they haven't pulled up their socks. But with all the incredible changes that go through this stage in our lives, retirement, it's important to maintain how you feel and how you look, because other people will watch you and bump into you. They'll meet you. And that's important. And that helps you mentally feel better. When you look better, when you feel better, that's important. Going back to the hotel business, I can remember when I was in high school working in that hotel, I was a bellhop. And before you could work on the floor, the bell captain would ask to look at your fingernails. And if they weren't cleaned, he didn't tell you to go and clean them. He sent you home to ensure that tomorrow, when you come back in for your shift, your nails are clean. It's simple, but it's those little details that not only the guests expect in that industry, but even I reflect on it now being retired. I wouldn't go out with dirty fingernails unless I've been digging in the garden. But when I was finished that project, I would be certain to clean them. These are all psychological things that you should do, that we all should do. And many don't. Many fall into an abyss where they just don't, and they feel sorry for themselves.
Part of your training has to do with the impression that you give others and the impression of caring about others and being of service to others. And you talk about a higher level accommodation in the hotels that you were involved with. How do you believe serving others is important, especially in retirement? I know that you've done it for years. You've been a part of the Rotary group for years and years. But especially now when serving others is something that many people have time for, how would you encourage them to do so? And what reward would they get?
That's a bit of a challenging question in that it should come as reflex. There's no question that even when you're looking at somebody and you're smiling, that makes a difference, that you will have a natural reaction to that. Having said that, when you extend a courtesy to somebody, and what it doesn't necessarily mean when you're in the business world, even if you are being of service, like a service club, the Rotary Club, Kiwanis, Lions, etc. Once you do something, whether it's raising money or helping build a house or whatever the project is that the service club is working on, to see the smile on somebody's face or the difference that you can make in somebody's life. And a lot of the time it's effortless. It doesn't cost you money for most of these exercises. It's paying it forward. And it's tough to explain. I mean, I've been doing it naturally, I guess, for a lot of years, and I will continue to do it. For those that are looking for something, be of service to your question, it's really easy to get involved in any one of these service clubs. Now, to expand on that, there's no question that there are people that may hesitate because they aren't necessarily comfortable in reaching out to some of these organizations. But in my experience, especially as of late, in speaking to some of these organizations here in our community, the challenge that these organizations are currently having, and this isn't unique to this area, this is global. These organizations are challenged with obtaining new members.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the membership of these organizations, you will find that a good number of them are seniors and or retired.
For sure.
Because those are the ones that wish to show an appreciation and give back to their community or to the people of their community that need the help. So believe me, any of those organizations will open their arms and welcome you to assist them in these projects. And again, a good number of these organizations have great memberships, and they will embrace you and bring you into their family and hold your hand in providing service to your community. You will sleep better at night going through the exercise.
Well, Allan, I'm going to change lanes for just 1 minute. You've talked about giving and caring and being of presence and really living in the present, understanding what skill sets you offer. And I wonder, how is it that your skill set develops a strong family dynamic when it's multi-generational?
Good question.
And the reason I'm asking this, and I'm going to give him a little bit of help here, is that if I can be bold enough to say that I believe that Allan has a fantastic relationship with his grandchildren. And we've talked about the family dynamic and how it changes when you retire, and being open and honest and supportive. And I think my impression holds true that it's your skill set from trying to help and be of service to others that has taken that relationship element, that family dynamic, and really strengthened it. And I just want you to either agree or say, Kathleen,
Yeah.
not at all.
Yeah. I guess I can liken it to my business background. And what I mean by that is the following. I can remember back in the day when my grandparents were alive. And often my parents would say, "Have you called your grandparents?" And it was almost unusual for a grandchild to pick up the telephone and dial your grandparents, especially if they didn't live in your immediate area. So my point is, you didn't speak to them often unless you went to visit them. What I do, which is what I would do with my customer base in the luxury car business or even in the hotel business, I reach out to the grandchildren frequently. And in this day and age, you can do it. And it's not just by telephone. You can text, you can email, but I take the initiative as a grandparent to always be communicating with them, which is what I learned in the car business. Stay in touch with your people. Always extend a hand. And it isn't just, "Hey, how are you today?" It doesn't have to be straight text. Currently, again, being retired, we're purging a lot of old photographs, Jennifer and I. And when you go through boxes and boxes of photographs and look at the people in the photographs, and we'll look at each other and say, our kids, let alone our grandkids, have no idea who's in these photographs.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have a good look and decide whether we shred it, keep it, or often we'll take a picture and send it to the grandkids and ask them if they can guess who they are. Can they recognize the likenesses of some of our relatives? And not to turn it into a game, it's truly an exercise in communication. And just to reverse that for a second, I find, and our grandchildren age-wise range from 15 years of age to 25 years of age. I find once you get on that path of communicating with them on a regular basis, they will promptly respond to you. Even if they're in their office in the middle of their workday, they take the few seconds to respond. And you must practice to do the same. If you don't respond to them quickly, and we learned this in the luxury car business, if you don't respond to your customers, your guests promptly, you potentially could lose them as a customer. The point being, when you're a grandparent and you respond to them promptly, they will never in their mind think, gee, I haven't heard from Grandpa. I hope he's okay. They will genuinely be concerned. And communication is vitally important.
That is exactly what's going to help our listeners to have intentions behind the things that you do, the intention of how you want to communicate with the other generations, whether it's your children or your grandchildren. The fact is, everyone likes to feel important. And by your explanation of the little game that you play, whether you call it that or not, you've got a system, you've set it up, and the expectations are there, and everyone is benefiting the interest that you show every time that you start a text. So thank you. That's great. I'm learning that. I'm a grandmother, and I'm afraid that I don't do it as often as I should.
Back in the day, your parents would say, just pick up the phone, call them. Pick up the phone. And it's not just sharing photographs. I mean, I'll come across news articles in a newspaper that might be relative to what they do in business. They sincerely appreciate all of those little extra things that you do.
This is really a powerful moment here, Allan, and thank you for sharing it, because during this chapter of our lives, especially those that have transitioned out of the work environment, our social circles and connections are quickly dwindling. And in addition to staying in touch with our grandkids and our family, I would imagine that this is such a powerful practice to incorporate with friends and others as well. Back when you were reaching out to your customers and your clients, to be able to receive a text or a message consistently to your circle of friends or others can really not only bring some joy to you, but certainly for them as well.
Absolutely. I have to say, it's sometimes the best thing when you get a text, unexpectedly so, that makes you smile. Your whole day is brightened. And I think that if we look at how we can help, how we could be of service to others, which is what you've explained, Allan, and if we can take that mindset and carry it forward and understand that it doesn't take a lot of effort, it does take the intention.
In this day and age, and Kathleen, you've sent me a couple of texts over the years where you included in the text fireworks. I never knew how to do that. And I asked the grandkids, I said, listen, somebody sent me a text and there were fireworks. Can you show me how to do it? So they showed me a number of accessories that you can add to your texts. Well, now I use them with almost all the texts I sent to them, whether it's a giant heart or balloons or what have you. I guess the point is, to me anyway, it demonstrates to them, and I feel somewhat good about it that I'm tech savvy, but to them, they're thinking there's Gramsci having fun again. The
Mhm.
guy's having fun doing this.
Mhm.
And that's such, in my opinion, a great way to get through life is try and have some fun more often than not in anything you do. Now, something else too, and the grandkids tease me about this. They say to me, Gramsci, every time we come over and visit you, you shake our hand.
Yes.
And obviously, the reason why I do it, I did it in the business world a fair bit, but I still do it even not with just the grandkids. Do it with neighbors. Extend your hand. And not everyone's comfortable hugging, but extend your hand. I mean, when you circle back to when we were born, our parents taught us the feeling of touch at a very young age. It's really important to use that at this later stage in our lives. It may sound simple, stupid, but it
It's
speaks
not.
volumes, and you will become known for that because the average person does not do it. So take the initiative, extend the hand. It will make somebody's day, trust me.
So that's one of the reasons that transitioning through your career into your retirement, on and off retirement life, has been so easy for you because you do have this mindset that the genuine gesture of simply shaking hands is a touchstone for people. And right now, many people in retirement don't have someone to hug them. They don't have that daily touch that they need. So if you're going to the grocery store, as you said, and you meet someone, and I know it's always first impressions, but if you meet someone who might be still in their pajamas and maybe don't look or feel as though they're having a good day, you reach out and extend your hand. Wow, that is going to be something they remember and that brightens their day, perhaps. This is really wonderful. I think that what we've learned, Yasmin, I'm so sorry we haven't given you much of a chance to discuss anything here. But these are the things that truly Allan and I have had so many conversations about these things over the years. And when you distill it, and we've had these conversations in our career life, and now that we're both semi-retired, I think that it's important to understand the source. If we do this, why do we do it? And what's the outcome? And that's what we are discussing today, the outcome of your customer service training and your mindset. It's what's giving you the relationship you have now with your family.
Yes. If I can make another comment, it's funny, we've talked about the grocery store on a couple of occasions here, but the human connection that I'm referring to, and I could probably talk about a human connection for an hour because it motivates me to want to talk of all the things that we can do as humans. And it's almost like you forget them when you retire, but now's the time that you have to accentuate that. Now, where I'm going with this is the other day I was at the grocery store and I didn't do self-serve. I went to one of the cashiers and a young person, and she was having a pretty good day, but I knew she was off a little bit. Anyway, I said to her, I said, Marilyn, make sure you have a good day. She said, how do you know my name? I said, you've got a name tag on. My point is, if you have the occasion to know somebody's name or to see or recognize somebody's name, use it. It's the most powerful thing that you can do. And it's the most powerful thing they've got. I mean, their parents gave them that name.
Mhm.
Let them have it.
We always used to say in my work environment, I would train my employees, if they see a regular customer, extend the invitation to share a name. And we would say, my gosh, I see you all the time. And I'm so sorry, I don't know your first name. My name's Kathleen. And it just broke the ice. And then the
Yeah.
next time that customer came in, or the next time you saw that person at the grocery store or at the post office, then you could say, hi, Yasmin, I haven't seen you for a while. Is everything okay? What
Yes.
a difference it would make. And I think that's what really, when we talk about family dynamic, it's friendship dynamic, it's all the things that make us who we are and really make us who we should be. And it helps in transitioning. It helps when many people go into different communities. And we talked about that, the retirement community. It's a hard step for people to take. And if
Absolutely.
we can help,
No, Kathleen, if I can comment, and again, you get me motivated on so many topics, and I love it. And Yasmin, thank you so much for putting up with us. But listen to this, and I've noticed this in retirement. There's times I'll be working around the house, and this circles back to human relations here. But I think to myself, oh, I've got to run down to the basement and get something. I get halfway down to the basement, and I forget why I'm going down there. My point is, when in a situation like I met this girl, Marilyn, the cashier at the grocery store, when I get in the car, I'll write her name down on a piece of paper to simply be an attempt to remember, because we forget as we get on. And you might say, oh, Allan, you poor thing, you got dementia coming on. I might have. I don't care at this stage. I'm doing my best to work with whatever's going on. But the point being, we would do the same when we were dealing with guests or customers in the luxury car business. You made notes constantly of your guests or customers, whether or not they bought anything from you. If they mentioned that they had to get going because their dog, Gertrude, has to go to the vet, we would jot down the dog's name. These were jump off points for the next time you might be engaged with them. Mm-hmm. And those little things, believe me, not only help us in business, we're retired now. It helps us in retirement to keep the noodle sharp. We need all the help we can get.
Now, this is coming at a time that I think it might be important. What is the one thing that you'd like your audience to take away from today, from this conversation?
Wow. Well, there's no question, a couple of things. Number one, if you don't journal, if you don't write things down, do it as soon as possible. And what's funny, I've mentioned this to a lot of seniors that I know, and they go, what do you write down? You write down anything. Start at the top of the page and write down the date and day of week. I said, as a personal kibitz, and this is only for my reading, but I will weigh myself every day and write it next to the date. I'm not trying to gain weight or lose weight. I'm just keeping track. But you write down whether it's a gray day, a sunny day, whatever comes to your mind, you jot it down. Journaling, write it down. It will help keeping you sharp. So I would start with that. And again, if any of our audience follows any of the terrific speakers that are available to us, whether it's YouTube or any of the platforms they use, they will all speak of things like this. And often they're speaking to business type people, but it's very applicable for we folks that are getting into the retirement mode. So that'd be one start for sure. Something we learn in working, I mentioned dealing or working with different cultures in the luxury car business. I probably learned the most in human relations through working with Lexus. For those that might not know, the culture of that brand is Japanese. And they truly go out of their way in terms of looking after fellow human beings, customer service, making things comfortable. But the one principle that they practice in everything they do is referred to as Kaizen. And Kaizen is a Japanese word, and it means continual improvement. And you might think, oh, wait a second, I'm not in the business world. Like, I'm not going to try and get better every day because I'm not working anymore. No, you do it at home. Do it in the retirement portion of your life. Try and improve every day. We talked earlier of just the way you wake up in the morning and put yourself together. Try and improve every single day in everything you do. Will you become perfect? Never. Will the car manufacturers ever become perfect? Never. But they work a mindset to at least make that effort.
Mm.
Try and feel better every day. You must escape the boring retirement sitcom that often you fall into. We fall into. No one's immune from this. So that effort truly has to be made.
Alan, your point about mindset is so critical in this stage of our lives. And I wonder if you'd be open to playing a little game here with us. It's a lot of times there are limiting mindsets that hold people back from a happy and joyful retirement. And so, if we could role play for a minute, let's say that I'm a customer, a friend, a client, and I'm coming to you with a certain limitation. Now, you can pick and choose how you would advise, or you can skip and it'll go to the next one as well. So, let's start with the first one here. Alan, I'm too old to start something new. I can't learn new technology at my age.
The technical challenges that we experience today, it would have been really easy for me to say, I quit. I'm not going to figure this out. I obviously am doing all the right things on my end. It must be you. But I didn't do that. I chose not to do that. I wouldn't do that because the three of us, are a team. And I knew that we could figure this out and we would figure it out. And we did figure it out. We're here now.
We found a solution. Yeah.
We did.
So
We did.
I know this isn't answering your question. However, the old saying, you can't do it alone. And it's most important at the retirement stage in our lives. Don't think you can do this alone. You can't fly alone. I'm sorry, you can't. And that's where you extend a hand, you raise a hand. I would like some help. And don't hesitate to ask for help.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's an important point. What about an isolation belief? Like making new friends or relationships at this age is hard. Younger people aren't interested in interacting with someone my age.
What would you say to that, Alan?
Wow. In terms of role playing, these are tough questions for many, I'm sure. But you talk of mind, you've got to change the mindset. And even to ask that question, I would like a longer sit down to understand why someone would feel that way.
Hmm.
Obviously, right away, I'm trying to deduce this. You've isolated yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's a problem that has a solution.
Mhm.
And there's no question, networking is key. And as I mentioned earlier, we have grandchildren. Not everyone has grandchildren. And therefore, I'm trying to put my mind to where if someone does not have younger people in their circle, how do they extend a hand and reach out and pull some of these young people in? Now, having said that, even my comment earlier about meeting a young cashier in a grocery store, communicate with young people. Just open every door you can. And in this case, that person had a name tag on. Now, if they didn't have a name tag on, there's no problem in asking them what their name is. And again, in this day and age, and obviously the world has changed, that person, especially in the case where it might be of the opposite sex, they might come back at you and say, well, why are you asking for my name? And a response might be, when I get home, I'm considering doing a Google review and I want to make sure that I compliment the right person. Or
Well,
I might go home and wish to write a little note to the store manager because Marilyn, you made my day today and you don't even know it. And I would like to express that to your manager or to Google or whatever it is. So
that's
again, I guess try to be smart on your feet. And what I'm suggesting just now, you might think, well, I would have never figured that out, which is why it's really important to develop social circles and have these exact types of conversations because it will help you.
it would also help them.
Oh,
And I think that we have to appreciate that sometimes when there are no grandparents in their lives, the difficulty they may have having a conversation with a senior. Yasmin, I love these questions. What's the next one?
Oh, you ready for another one? Okay.
Yeah.
How about this? Since we're on the family topic, my primary role now is to be a grandparent. I should stay out of my children's way and let them live their lives.
No, you cannot feel that way. Don't ever feel that you are in the way. To your grandchildren, to young people, whether or not you have grandchildren, to young people, we, in many respects, are the living Google for these people. We have experiences and we've witnessed things that they, in some cases, haven't even dreamt of. So to stimulate that, it's important, again, as I reiterated earlier, about not only staying in touch, get in touch with your young connections. And believe me, they will look to you for all kinds of things, but you have to be creating an inviting environment for them to approach you, to ask those questions. There's no question that many young people, especially those that are in their teens or late teens, we have to remember they have been traumatized by a global pandemic. They are somewhat, many of them, hesitant to reach out to us for whatever reasons are going on in their lives, in their minds. All the more reason for us to open those doors, to make it inviting for them to reach out to us. And that's why, circling back to experience in the hotel, the restaurant business, the luxury car business, it was always important to ask questions of discovery, which will assist in the business world, you assessing what is best for your customer, your client, your guest. Well, do it with the young people in your lives. Ask questions.
Allan, you bring up a very good point. I think that we, the retired generation, can't relate to what it might have been like as a teenager to be isolated from schools and friends and all of the dynamic that adds value and richness to your life. And yes, I suspect that it is somewhat of, it does exist in trauma as a result. So you're absolutely right.
Hey, Kathleen, if I can comment to that, I'm going to circle back. And again, in my mind anyway, this speaks to our life experiences and those of the people that are even our seniors. I referenced earlier about my experience in assisting evacuate people out of a burning building. What I found interesting, one of the takeaways from that experience is as follows. When we were evacuating approximately 124 people in their pajamas, they weren't panicking. They weren't panicking at all. And after a few hours, when we got them into the local college gymnasium, which had been set up with camp cots for them to sleep overnight after this traumatic event, I approached one gentleman and said to him, "Hey, Mill, is there anything I can get you?" He's in a wheelchair with no shoes on. We had just come in from the cold. And he said, "Yes, there is actually, young man. I'd like a rum and Coke." And then he chuckled. And they had a mindset that, if tonight's my night, then that's the way it was meant to be. I've had a good life. And there was another couple, husband and wife, that were laying next to each other in single camp cots.
Mhm.
And they were all laid out in the gymnasium, and there were only emergency lights on in that particular gymnasium at that time. And I was standing in the doorway, and it was deathly quiet. And the one fella rolled over, looked at his wife, and he said, "Well, Myrtle, we're in the Army now."
Oh, the
The,
sense of humor.
that's what gets so many of us through our days.
Mhm.
One of the worst things that we've got going right now is social media. It is absolutely the most depressing thing that's
Oh,
going on right now. It's truly unbelievable. It's social noise, which is all the more reason why we need these boots on the ground communications with those that are in our circles and with those that need us in their circles, whether it's a cashier in the grocery store. Another example I use, the number of people I've asked and said, do you know the first name of your pharmacist? No, it's just this guy that stands up behind the counter. I said, get to know him by name. Get to know him by name. And I said, in my experience, often if I'm challenged, I think to myself, oh, maybe I should go to the doctor. And then I thought, wait a second, I'm going to go see the pharmacist. And I'll go to the pharmacist and say, hey, Paul, can I ask your advice? Listen, I've got this headache. It's been driving me nuts. Like, you're a smart guy. You're a pharmacist. What do you guys take? They will take the time and say, Al, come this way. And he'll walk you over and show you what they take. Don't get tied up in all the brand names, the fancy names, the commercials that you've seen on television. Ask the guy in the business what he would take, and he
well,
will
Al,
tell you the truth. And I'll tell you something else. As you age, I find myself, I've been going to a doctor probably once a year, which I never did when I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s. Doctor, I would only go if I broke a bone or if I was sick. After I go to the doctor, send your doctor a thank you card. I have done it. They in this day and age, they don't believe it. My doctor's probably 35 years younger than I. And every time I go in there now, they have it taped to the wall at the reception desk. Trust me.
Alan, I have to interrupt you. I just have to interrupt you because I know you well. You've got so many of these fabulous stories. And I think that a minute ago, you made a comment about community. And that's really what Yasmin and I have done. We've created a community for people to have conversations like this, to listen to experiences so that if you've not had it, maybe someone else has. And so we invite everyone to join our circle, our community, and ensure that you've got answers to your questions and just maybe a laugh. And Yasmin is going to post ways to keep in touch with us. And unfortunately, Alan and I haven't let poor Yasmin say 2 words this whole episode, but we love him for it because he understands. He's the youngest retiree that I know. And he's been just a gem walking through this path with us. And I want to just say thank you so, so much for doing so, Yasmin. And I know that you're going to bring such value. And I want everyone to please share this. We've had a lot of fun. Alan mentioned about technical difficulties. I mentioned about it, but you have no idea. I mean, Yasmin said we should have been recording this because the outtakes would have been hilarious. I mean, we were in tears and it was like the blind leading the blind because we didn't have the information we needed. And really, that's what it was. And so we want to give everyone in our community the information they need so that when they get to those stumbling blocks, they can laugh about it the way we did and just go on with it. And as Alan said, find a solution. And Yasmin, I'm so grateful for you and your expertise and your talent. And I want to thank Alan. You've brought such a wonderful insight into how we can take the skill sets that we develop, the mindset that we have to be positive, make lemonade out of those lemons, and bring it to our audience today and have a little bit of fun. So I thank you so, so much for being our guest today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alan and Kathleen. It's been such a joy just to sit back and to witness and to learn. I think that's part of the journey as well, too, is that there are times when we just get a chance to observe and experience the wisdom that so many others that are out there. And that's why we are so committed to having a community of people who can share these life experiences that can enrich our journey as we do so together.
Mhm. This is real retirement.
Yasmin, I assure you have a new friend today.
Hmm.
Do not hesitate to reach out to me at any time. I am thrilled to have you in my circle. And again, let's keep expanding those circles. We all need this.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that and honor. Thank you.
Well, this has been a unique experience. I'll say that. It started rocky, but it got better. And it's always the content that makes it valuable. So, I mean, that's wonderful.
You made my day. Both of you made my day. And I can only thank you for the opportunity to spend valuable time. This is a huge project. And I appreciate that now following you for a couple of weeks on this. So I thank you for the time that you took to open your arms to me today.
Mm. Our pleasure.
Thank you for taking the time to join us today. If you enjoyed this episode or found it valuable, please subscribe, follow, and leave a comment or review on your favorite platform. If you have friends, clients, or loved ones who are retired or thinking about retirement, we invite you to share this show with them. Check out the show notes for links to resources mentioned in this episode at realretirementshow.com. Remember, retirement is a joyful journey we get to experience together. Join us next week for another Real Retirement Conversation.